does that sound like? That sounds exactly like the Jehovah's Witnesses. The Jehovah's Witnesses refuse to celebrate any birthdays, And again, if you don't want to celebrate birthdays, that's fine. If you don't want to have anything to do with Christmas, you don't want to go to a Christmas celebration, okay, that's fine. We don't have a Christmas tree. Again, we don't do anything with Santa Claus with our kids. We don't teach our kids that. But what about not doing that, but not neglecting your family members? How about not neglecting your friends, the ones who need your care? And, I'm reminded of, whatever happened to, like in 1 Corinthians chapter 8, with caring for the ones who may not have as much knowledge as you. The local churches pride themselves so much on having so much knowledge. Well, whatever happened to, caring for the weaker ones, the ones that don't have as much knowledge? And even in Romans chapter 14, the Apostle Paul talks about those who want to celebrate certain days and those who don't want to celebrate certain days. And, he talks about what about not passing judgment on another brother's considerations. If a brother wants to celebrate a certain day, he wants to celebrate a birthday, his child's birthday, praise God, let him celebrate his birthday and don't pass judgment on his considerations. Don't label him as worldly or unholy if he wants to celebrate a birthday, or if he goes to a Christmas celebration to see his own family and his friends. It's okay to do that. But the local churches will basically condemn anything and everything that is not according to their teaching. And really what happens is it really alienates the local church members from their family and their friends. And so, the reason I mention these things is to basically say that it's not just the meetings that the local churches want you to go to, but it's also the things and the meetings that they do not want you to go to. So basically, remember how this one brother that I was reading in the last video, he talks about how Witness Lee effectively becomes people's God. Well, the teachings of Witness Lee and the local churches, their doctrine, effectively control your life. If you listen to their teaching so much and get so immersed in it, you will naturally start to neglect family members, friends, you get isolated, and basically what you go to and what you do not go to becomes controlled by Witness Lee and the leadership of the local churches who are following Witness Lee. So, that's a big red flag. Whenever you have someone telling you where you have to go and where you cannot go, that's a big red flag. I'm not talking about going to bars and going to topless bars and, sinful things like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about going and seeing your family, caring for your family members and your friends. When you're under a teaching that kind of squelches that natural good behavior of any normal person, then that's a big red flag. You need to take heed. This is not normal. This is unnatural. It's contrary to nature, and that's a typical cult behavior that will grab your time, occupy you greatly, and will snatch you away from your family and friends. That one guy that I was reading in the last video on the campus ministry of the local churches, the Christians on campus, I was reading some material from a former member. I want to read some more of his material now. It's pretty short, but I thought, again, he puts things very well. He has a way with words. And again, this is a ex-local church member who he got out of the local churches, and his dad was one of the first ones who joined up with Witness Lee in the 1960s and kind of helped this movement grow, this cult grow. So this is what this person had to say about the local churches with regards to how they spend their time and how it negatively affects their relationship with their family members. So this is what he said. I'll just start reading. He says, the definition of local church dedication, absolute consecration, is spiritually criminal. And I fully agree with that. The local church's a definition of dedication and absolute consecration to the Lord, it's spiritually criminal in the way it robs members of their humanity. And that is exactly what I'm talking about when I say things like It's unnatural. It's contrary to nature. It's not normal. It's just against basic humanity. You know, basic humanity at least cares for their own family and doesn't neglect their family. But the local churches, and they're exhorting you to be consecrated to them, it robs members of their basic humanity. And it instructs them to treat their family members as political units of the larger cult. He says, my dad was a major player in the local church and helped found it in this country in the early 1960s with Witness Lee. Despite what some current members have asserted on this site where he's posting, he says, my descriptions are quite accurate, and they really are. I only hope that my words can in some small way compensate for the cultic slavery my dad helped unleash. And I felt, you can really tell that this person is very remorseful of what his dad did and of the group that he was involved in. And that's exactly how I feel. That's exactly why I'm doing these videos. Because I hope that in some way I myself can help to compensate for the cultic slavery that I helped spread on college campuses and in my community. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this video with I believe it's a rather disturbing testimony of a well-known woman in the local churches who works for Living Stream Ministry. I will not say her name, but she is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. She works for Living Stream Ministry. She's quite elderly, and she spends her days proofreading and helping to publish the material of Witness Lee and Watchman Nee. And her husband is an elder in one of the local churches in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And also her son, last I heard, was the leader of the Christians at Tech, their ministry in Lubbock, Texas, Christians at Tech. This woman's son is the leader of that cult's ministry group. So this is a testimony that I'm going to share. This is her testimony that I'm going to share, that she has oftentimes shared with other local church members, especially with young people. She loves to share this testimony with young people, okay? This is how the local church members, the old veterans, want to shepherd and influence the young people in their group, okay? Listen to this. This local church woman, this woman who's working for Living Stream Ministry, last I heard at least, she deliberately went against the wishes of her father to be with the local churches and live with some of their members. A lot of times on college campuses, they all live together, kind of like a little fraternity or a sorority, and they call it corporate living. This happened in I think it was around the 1970s. You know, if it was earlier, maybe in the 1960s, but around that time, she began as a teenager to meet with some of the local churches, which at that time, it was already becoming quite well known that, that this was a cult. The local churches with Witness Lee are a cult. And when her father found out that she was meeting with this group, he became very concerned for his daughter, and rightly so. And he forbid his daughter to meet with the local churches. You know, she's a teenager. She's living with her parents. Who's the head of that girl? Her father. Who should she be listening to? Her father. So he forbid her to meet with the local churches and tried to explain to her that this is a weird, phony cult. This woman, this teenager at the time, against the decree of her parents, whom she was living with, she continued meeting with the local churches. And she was fully convinced as a teenager that Witness Lee and the local churches were God's present, up-to-date move on the earth, and that there was none else like it, and that she just had to be a part of it. So she became so involved that she decided to move out of her parents' house and move into this corporate living, to move in with the brothers and with the sisters. And it's like communal living, basically, which is also quite typical of cults. Doesn't mean you're a cult if there's communal living, but just beware. A lot of cults do have communal living. So the father, when this happened, the father